holy shit, this movie is good. Okay, so I remember ages ago, I saw the announcement for the CGI 3D Pokemon movie that was a remake of the original first Pokemon movie, Mewtwo Strikes Back, that must have come out in Australia in 1999, and I was literally 4 years old at this point, yet I still remember it being pretty much one of the biggest moments of my life. And I remember going to the cinemas with me, my brother, and my two cousins, and we all bought tickets, and it came with this limited edition Mew Pokemon card, and the entire thing just felt so special and awesome in every way. And remember, this was back in the days when there was only 151 Pokemon. Like, Mewtwo and Mew were pretty much the pinnacle of Pokemon lore. It didn't get any deeper than that. There wasn't like Arceus, the god of Pokemon. There was none of that stuff. It was literally Mewtwo and Mew, and it was a simpler time. And I genuinely remember seeing this movie as a kid and thinking it was the best thing ever and absolutely loving it, but not really grasping anything deeper, like the surprisingly deep philosophical themes of existentialism. And as a teenager, I revisited it and still thought this movie actually held up quite well and really spoke to me. So when I saw the reveal and the artwork for the three main characters, Ash, Brock, and Misty, I honestly thought it looked pretty terrible. Then I just forgot about it and thought I would probably never even end up watching it, but it turned out it was brought to the West by Netflix, and the other night I was scrolling through Netflix trying to find something to watch, and I stumbled upon this bad boy and thought, why the fuck not? And man, I want to say that this absolutely blew my mind. This movie was actually pretty fucking incredible, and I genuinely want to see more of this from Pokemon. It's pretty much a shot-by-shot remake of the original movie. I think there's a few like additional scenes or creative liberties and tweaks taken, but the story and also most of the script are pretty much identical. It's obviously just a total animation overhaul, and that really does become the best part of the movie. What I will say is that the character models for Ash, Brock, and Misty are still pretty horrid looking and do kind of sit in this uncanny valley kind of area. They kind of look like clay models, like they're made of Play-Doh or something like that, and they're genuinely the most off-putting part of the entire film. But I really should stress that that shouldn't throw you off something that is highly nostalgic and genuinely really fun to watch. Those character models were the thing that originally put me off wanting to see this or wanting this to be a thing in the first place, but I'm glad I made the choice to actually see it through and watch the movie. The thing about the movie that's so incredible is the way that the Pokemon actually look in the beautiful CGI rendering. The way the animation seems to have been done seems to have been deliberately made to complement the Pokemon rather than any of the human characters, although I will say that most of the human characters other than the main trio actually look pretty good comparatively, and I didn't mind them. For example, Jesse and James from Team Rocket I actually thought looked pretty good. But I just couldn't get over the genuine visual spectacle of this movie. Seeing these scenes that are already so nostalgic, thinking back to the original 2D movie from the late 90s, recreated in this beautiful 3D CGI world is unbelievable. And I guess we got a glimpse last year of what Pokemon could look like in 3D CGI from the Detective Pikachu movie. And yeah, I didn't really mind the lifelike designs in that. I thought the Pokemon really blended well with the live action environment, and the design liberties taken there really suited that live action environment, and I was pretty happy with that, particularly with scenes like the Mr. Mime scene, which was really funny and sort of brought this weird Pokemon to life in a way that fans really hadn't seen before. But to be honest, I'd much prefer they go down this route of animated film in the future. The way that all of these Pokemon are designed, animated, and move around this world is absolutely incredible. The opening Pokemon battle, you see a bunch of Pokemon looking amazing like Squirtle, Bulbasaur, Pikachu, Donphan, Marcham, and it's just a spectacle that we've never really seen from the series before. It's the exact same battle from the original movie, but it just looks so cool in 3D. It just looks I don't know, I can't even explain it, but it felt so cool to watch this. If I had to compare the art style to anything, it really felt like a more detailed version of how the Pokemon trainers Pokemon look in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate's render. They just look so good in 3D, and like something about the lighting just made them pop and stand out so much. At points, I genuinely felt like I was watching a Pixar film or even a DreamWorks film, like a totally legit animated movie. It was so detailed, and it really felt like some of that sort of Pixar magic was in this movie. Granted, the 3 main character designs just didn't quite get there, but a lot of the rest of the scenery and the Pokemon and the other humans really felt good. Watching like the ferociousness of Gyarados captured in this scene where all of the trainers have to cross the hurricane across the ocean was just unbelievable. It gave a lot of these Pokemon a completely new life, and Pokemon that don't usually get that much love. Like watching the trainer with the dugong jump in and out of the water kind of like a dolphin with this incredibly animated ocean was just like something that I never could have imagined Pokemon could look like. I cannot express strongly enough how amazing I thought they looked in this film. How absolutely dumbfounded I was to experience a lot of these creatures in this whole new light. I gained this new appreciation for some of the designs I've never really liked that much, just seeing them in this 3D space. And so many times in this current day and age, when I'm watching a movie at home by myself, I'll get a little bit distracted and I'll look at my phone and I can't really keep my eyes on the screen. But honestly, most of this film, I couldn't take my eyes off what I was seeing. It was so enthralling to watch the animations in this film. Watching the battle between Mewtwo's clones of Blastoise, Venusaur, and Charizard fighting their real counterparts was so good. I want to see more Pokemon battles. Just animate 2 trainers. I don't care who it is. I literally don't care who it is. I want to see more Pokemon battles in this style. But aside from the animation, the narrative of this movie still really holds up, and I really love it. I actually said on my podcast, 20th Century Boy episode 17, that Mewtwo is one of my favorite fictional characters of all time, and his origin story is a heart-wrenching introduction to existentialism for any 90s kid. I actually love Mewtwo as a character and the way that he actually struggles with his identity or its purpose and trying to find out what it has to do with this life that it's just been unwillingly thrust into. It struggles with being used by humans for their purposes and their goals, and Mewtwo is basically philosophy 101 for a lot of 90s kids. It's so relatable. None of us chose to be born, but we all have to kind of just make sense of this thing that we've been brought into that we don't really understand. And the expectation is that we just go about our life and figure it out for ourselves. Mewtwo's complex emotions and its own quest for meaning and purpose in life is so relatable for all of us, and I think I will always feel that way. I'll always feel so connected to this fictional cartoon clone. It is a bit weird when you put it like that. It's like when we're born, we're totally jaded by having to live in the expectations of others, like our schools and our parents and our friends, and we don't know our own path and we can't carve our own path yet, and we rebel and we become angry with life in our journey to find purpose. And that's like exactly what Mewtwo does in this movie. And Mewtwo's eventual realization about what life really should be is such a profound lesson for children in life that I've genuinely carried with me for a lot of my adult life.
I see now that the circumstances of one's birth are irrelevant. It is what you do with the gift of life that determines who you are.
Just this really wise learning and bit of wisdom that really spoke to me then and still speaks to me now. Our lives are a gift, and finding our own meaning and purpose is part of life. We all have the liberty to choose our own meaning in life, to find our own path and to follow it, and to make the most of what we've been given and the skills and talents that we have. Honestly, 20 years after this movie was released, and however many years it's been since the original Pokemon games came out, I don't think there's ever been a Pokemon in this series that's had more of a personality and strong narrative than Mewtwo. And they've definitely tried to replicate the success of Mewtwo with a lot of other kind of look-alike or feel-alike Pokemon. Pokemon like Lucario became a figurehead for the series for a while and certainly had some sort of resemblance to Mewtwo and had its own movie feature. Pokemon like Zoroark and Zeraora seem to be trying to capitalize on that Mewtwo kind of figure, but they never really picked up as much as Lucario. Even this new Pokemon that's been revealed as Zarude in Sword and Shield seems to sort of be that kind of figure of Mewtwo for this generation, I suppose. Overall, I think this movie is something that you have to watch if you are a fan of the original Pokemon series growing up. Even if you've outgrown it or you think it's lame now, I think you should watch this movie and just remember what it was like to be a kid and experience this in a whole new life. You owe it to yourself to take on this amazing nostalgia trip into your past and just glue your eyes to the screen and watch the oddly philosophical nature of a fictional clone called Mewtwo in its search for purpose in life. I do think one of the best parts about children's movies is how when we watch them as kids, we see them on quite a superficial sort of level and enjoy them, but the best children's movies I think we revisit as adults and still connect to them in some kind of deeper way than we ever did before, and we get a new appreciation for that text, for that film, based on our experiences that have led us to adulthood. The way you interact with a film when you're a kid is totally different to the meaning you might bring from it once you're an adult. Essentially, this movie was great and I'm glad it happened. It totally blew out of the water every expectation I had, and I hope they make more of these kinds of things in the Pokemon franchise. This literally felt like Pixar Pokemon, and I'm very happy for that to be a thing moving forward. So what did you think? Let me know in the comments. Give this video a like and a subscribe and share it. I guess don't give the video a subscribe because you can't do that. Subscribe to my channel. I do a lot of videos like this and I want to keep churning them out. I also do a podcast that I mentioned before, 20th Century Boy. You can get it on Spotify, iTunes, all of those. Anywhere you podcast, you can get it. There's an episode every Thursday. And my band, Release the Sounds, is a comedy punk band. If you're into old school 90s punk like Blink-182 and Green Day and those kind of bands, we're trying to do a comedy kind of tribute to that. Our first album is on Spotify. Go and check it out. Other than that, yeah, subscribe, check out my channel, really appreciate it. My name's been Radio Mike, watch some of my other videos. This has been The Inside of My Mind. Catch you later.